It's the Mike Calta Show. It's 102.5 The Bone. Please go get Steve Byrne and bring him in the studio. We got to do news. We got Steve here. Doug Benson's coming in.
Yeah.
We got a full day of things going on here. Plus, I got tickets. Carmen, do we still have those Blackhawk tickets, or did somebody take them?
No, we have them.
All right, so the Lightning are taking on the Blackhawks. I'll give those away before the show is over today. That game is tonight, where they're looking to snap that losing streak. You've got three-game losing streak. It's not good. Look at him. Let me look. Yep. Look at him. They're exactly the same. Mm-hmm. You don't age. You don't gain weight.
No.
You don't do anything.
Nothing.
They don't.
Still handsome. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. What's wrong? What?
Nothing. How you guys doing?
I'm good. Why do you look so awkward and uncomfortable? Like this is your first time here.
Hi. I'm so nervous.
Steve's father called me an a-hole not too long ago.
Why?
You know about that?
Because he's accurate.
Really?
Oh, burn.
I'll be getting the coronavirus. I was sitting in the stands. My son was playing hockey.
Yeah.
And Steve's father was reffing the game.
Oh,
that's right. Yeah.
And he turned around and he was like, and I can't hear him through the glass. And I was watching. I just see his words go, asshole. And I go, oh, okay. And then immediately I knew it was your dad.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. He's. I can't believe he's still reffing. He's.
I mean, it's
in his 70s.
But you know what, though? If he can do it, then boy, do they need more guys like that. Because now what they do is the alternative is to have kids who are also players, on their off game play, and they're terrible. They're kids, To have an adult out there who actually knows what they're doing.
Who's the better skater, you or your dad?
Definitely me.
Yeah.
Even back, like, in my prime and his prime, I was always pretty fast.
Oh, yeah.
But, I'm 45 now, and it's like I played adult league maybe like a year or two ago, and that was always my thing. I was able to get around guys because I had speed, and definitely lost a step or two.
Isn't that
It happens.
Such getting old, doesn't it?
Oh, no.
You find out in the hardest ways. You're like, oh,
yeah.
stairs.
Where's your speed? High school.
Yeah.
Apparently what it is.
Who do you? Anybody you play with that we know that you're like, this person's really good?
Well, I did play for a while in like a comics league.
Yeah.
We're just every Tuesday. I wouldn't say a league.
But there's a lot of comics you play.
Yeah, so Bill Burr, Ian Bagg, myself.
Ian's got to be pretty good.
Ian's great. He talks so much smack the whole time.
Oh, hey, Steve. Come on down.
I'm going to go right past you.
5-hole. Yeah, who's good? Jericho's good.
Oh, yeah.
You ever have Chris Jericho, the wrestler? His dad
Really?
his dad played for the Rangers, and he's Canadian. Canadians already have it built in. It's already in their
Somebody
blood.
like that beefy
He's not
on ice?
Yeah, I don't know how beefy he is. He's muscular, but he's a little guy. Not little, but I bet he's going to be pissed.
He's not the stereotypical giant wrestler guy.
He's not.
Yeah.
He's in good shape.
Guy.
Like, if you saw him, you'd be like, yeah, I don't want to fight that guy at all. But he's also not like, whoa, look at how giant that guy is.
Right,
you know?
right.
And Dane plays, right? I've seen, because all those Boston guys, they do that Cam Neely thing.
Yeah, Dane played, I think, once or twice with us. It was just a good group.
Yeah.
But a lot of comics in L.A.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Which is good, yeah.
This is Steve Byrne. Steve is a comic. He's an actor. He's a filmmaker now.
Okay.
He's a documentary filmmaker.
Okay.
Let me get on the other side of the glass and whisper something to you.
When's the movie come out with the kid from what's that kid's name?
The Asian kid?
Jimmy Yang.
Jimmy O. Young, the coronavirus-free
So
Jimmy O.
far.
Young. So far, yeah. No, it comes out. I think it's going to come out in July. It's like it finally is like finding a home and all that stuff. So we're just working on that. But I think July it'll come out.
Is it still called The Opening Act?
Yes.
Okay.
So you have an idea for a movie, and you write out the script. And then
Right.
what is the next step?
Well, basically, my show got canceled. Sullivan and Son got canceled.
We know. We stopped getting residual checks.
Yeah.
So once I got canceled, I was like, well, what do I do? No, my phone's not ringing, that's for sure. And I just thought, well, hang out with Vince Vaughn and then getting to know those guys and Favreau. Favreau always said you write about what you know. And I just was like, all right, I'm just going to write a script about stand-up comedy because I've never seen a great film about stand-up.
I was going to say, it's hard to do. It's hard to
There's a
capture
lot of bad
that.
ones.
Yeah.
A lot of bad ones. And stand-up always takes, like, the back seat. Like, even in The Big Sick, like, it was never really about stand-up, right?
Right.
And Sleepwalk With Me was about his condition, and you know, punchline. There's no lockers in stand-up comedy.
No, punchline was awkward.
Or funny women. Just joking. Just joking. Had to say it, guys. Had to say it. Had to. Hey, up top. Okay. So yeah, I wrote a film about stand-up, and I think even the ones about stand-up, it's always about somebody like going on the road again, or they're older. And I just thought, you don't want to watch that. You want to get in the car with a 20-year-old, go to Vegas for the first time.
Right.
That's what you want to write about. So I wrote about a kid's very first time ever on the road at an improv. Whole film takes place over 4 days. The first half is all the romanticism, optimism, and partying of hanging out with the feature act, and the back half is all the sobriety, isolation, and solitude of hanging out with this road-weary veteran that he finally warms up to. So it's Jimmy O.
Which
Yang.
is who? Yeah. Who?
Plays the MC. Alex Moffat from SNL plays the feature act, and Cedric the Entertainer plays the headliner.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
And I got a lot of guff from Kreischer, because Kreischer is always like, yeah, how long we known each other? You didn't put me in the film. You didn't put me in the film. And I'm like, yeah, well, maybe if you would call me back.
Okay, listen.
Call me back.
I was almost going to give you crap for this.
Yeah.
But then when you said that, I was like, okay, now I side with you. Listen, as his fame rose,
Yeah.
I expected to hear less and less from him, and that's not true. He still mentions us in every podcast.
Yeah.
He still calls me all the time like a friend would, just to check in.
Yeah.
But it is impossible when you need him to get him on the phone.
Yes.
But here is what Bert says about the situation. He says that you called him
Yep.
and was like, hey, I'm making this movie. It's about comedy. Do you have Tom Segura's number?
Yeah.
That's what happened. Because at that time, I had initiated when we were casting this role.
Right.
We had they always said, hey, who should we get this for this? Who should we get for that? And I was always trying to plug comics in. So I said, for this role of the cop, we should get Kreischer. And they go, okay, so it's a chain of command, right?
Yeah.
It's not just, okay, that's what you got to say. You got to get the investors' approval. You got to get Vince Vaughn's approval. And Vince is the one initiating the phone calls. But anyways, I did it. And then we run it up the flagpole. Everybody says, yeah. I reach out to Kreischer. And his voicemail, I remember it. It was like, yeah, I'm out of the country. Get back to me.
Forever it said that.
And so I was like, okay, I guess he's out of the country. I was in pre-production, so you're nowhere. You know, normally I'd look up the calendar or whatever.
Right.
So I was just in no man's land because you're so swamped with work. And then basically I didn't hear from him. And they go, "Where is he? Where is he?" I'm like, "He hasn't got back to me." They're like, "All right, who else can you get? We gotta book this thing."
Right.
I go, "Okay, I guess Segura."
Does Segura know he was second choice?
I don't know, but he's in it,
Right.
so he's happy.
Yeah.
But Bert, I would love to have put him in, you know?
Yeah.
And even when Sullivan and Son was on the air, there was something I reached out for him. I just never heard back from him. I was like, I got to move on.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, what are you
those
gonna
things
do?
you cast the day of, and that's it.
I know. We were there. The minute you called,
Yeah.
we were on the next flight.
That's right. We were ready to
Next
go.
flight.
Brought our own clothes.
That comes up in my time hop every once in a while. I'll see it and I'll get very excited.
The
That was
Cosby
fun.
sweater?
The Cosby sweater.
Yeah.
That was a really fun experience.
It was for me too. It was a great. I mean, to get to, it's like the reason you move to LA. You pack your bags. You go, oh, okay, maybe one day I'll get to do something. And then you driving on that Warner Brothers lot every day for 3 summers in a row was the best. It was
Okay,
so
every
fun.
day for 3. This is what I love when people are like, this guy's like, I played in the NFL. You did? Yeah, I got.
Yeah.
I only played 2 games. I played 3 seasons with this team. I only played in 2 games. I didn't have much of a career. You played as a quarterback in the NFL. 99.8% of the country never gets to do that.
Sure.
So now you had 3 seasons of a television show where you were the star of the show on the Warner Brothers lot while Clint Eastwood would drive by every day. I'm like, that's the greatest thing. Even if you never do anything again, you've had that.
Well, what was kind of cool is if you get past, I think, a second season, you are eligible on those big, massive sound stages. You know, so where they have those plaques outside, so it says Ocean's 11 or Yankee Doodle Dandy, whatever was.
What was filmed there?
And then ours is on there on stage 10, which was cool. But I'll tell you a funny story. Owen Benjamin almost killed Clint Eastwood because Clint Eastwood's got to
With his words?
Yeah. They both seem politically aligned.
Yeah. But Clint Eastwood's got to deal with Warner Brothers. So all his films are Warner Brothers. So one day we're just bored. You're sitting in this sound stage and you got to get outside.
It's a lot of waiting time.
A lot of waiting. So we would get a football. And we throw it all the time outside the sound stages, and we used to get in trouble for it because Conan's people would tell on us. Screw Conan. So one day, Owen Benjamin can launch. I mean, the guy's 6'7". He can launch a football. I'm not joking, 60, 70 yards.
Right.
Just lean back, chuck it. And one day, we're going deep. Me and Roy Wood are running down the thing, and we see this golf cart round the bend. And Clint Eastwood is talking to somebody, and he's in the back of the golf cart, and he's talking to somebody this way. And I'm not joking. The football whooshed right, literally inches away, and this was a straight up bomb.
Yeah.
It would have killed any 70-year-old.
His head just turned to dust.
Yeah, you're like Avengers Endgame.
Wouldn't that be great if the story was Owen Benjamin kills Clint Eastwood? Oh my God!
Yeah.
Does that make him the toughest guy in Hollywood now?
Yeah, I think
Owen Benjamin.
Yeah.
Make him the most conservative, I think.
Man, that is so funny.
He did shatter Ellen DeGeneres' golf cart because her assistant was rounding the bend, and she had this plexiglass thing in the front.
Yeah.
And I mean, he drilled this thing head on, and it just shattered. And that was no more football.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Ruined it for everyone, Owen.
Do you know
Ellen danced over and said, "Nah, no more."
I had one of the best experiences of my life was the second time I came out on the set. You, who are the star of the show. First of all, I thought it was great that while we were there, whenever they would bring the tours by, you would go out and talk to all the people. I was like, that's smart. That's how you operate. But the second time I'm out there with a bunch of corporate people from Cox for a radio convention. And you reach out to me, hey, I saw you in L.A. You should come by.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'd love to, but I have these yahoos with me. And you were like, bring them. And I went, that'll be impressive. Let's do that.
Yeah, your brother was there.
My brother came, right? It was my brother because my brother was out there. And then me and a couple of guys from Cox went out there.
Yeah.
And the guy from Third Rock, the Big Bang Theory.
Oh, Kunal.
Kunal was there.
Yeah.
And they got to meet him, and they were so excited. So all that's going on, I get a call from my agent.
Yeah.
Because my contract's in negotiations at the time. And we settled on a number while I was on the lot.
Oh, really?
So now I'm on the lot. I'm rich as hell.
Yeah.
I'm driving your golf cart around.
Yeah.
And we're just driving around the Warner Brothers lot. I remember I got the phone, and then I get the phone call from I won't say who it was, Justin Stengel. As I'm in front of the big clock tower.
Yeah.
And I get a phone call, and it's Justin, and he's like, Letterman's announcing he's retiring today, and I'm like, what is going on? This is like the most monumental day.
Yeah.
It all happened
in front of the Back to the Future.
Back to the Future thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood died.
I got in trouble for that too because I'd always let people use the golf carts.
Yeah.
And one of the writers, F.J. Pratt, great guy. His kids came one day, and his kids are like 10 and 8. I'm like, they should just go around the thing. And they're like, really? And they're like, yeah. I was like, just get in the golf cart. I had my own golf cart.
Yeah.
So it was like, go take the golf cart. You know, within an hour, security's coming over. It's like you can't let kids just drive the golf cart.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I was surprised I got to drive the golf cart because we just went anywhere. I mean,
You really
I went
can,
over
like
by the writers' offices. I went over by Ellen's thing. I just went anywhere.
Yeah, no one knows. Like, and I think I told you to get to the back part where the Jurassic Park, the T-Rex comes by. Yeah, Pee Wee Herman went over that little lake.
Yep.
It was kind of cool. So we would, that set, as you guys know, would turn into an actual bar, and we would get ripped. And Roy and I would take the golf carts out at like 1 or 2 in the morning and just try to bump them over or roll them over. And I remember one night I was so bummed, and they had set up these like little orange cones to for shooting the next day on this street lot. Run them over, and I would love to see that security camera footage. And it would every time we would do that, there would always be a letter, and then the next day no more hanging out on set after midnight. Screw that.
People watching are like, are the next Fast and Furious going to be on golf carts?
Yeah.
What is going on here?
I had an interesting experience this year. My daughter is 7 now, and she just started to watch what's a Christmas Story with Billingsley.
Oh yeah.
And she's what's his name in that movie? Charlie? I don't know, whatever it is.
Christmas
Ralphie?
Story?
Yeah, Ralphie.
Yeah, that's it.
So every time she'd see that show, she'd call it the Ralphie. Look, it's a Ralphie show.
Yeah.
She loves it. Like she was obsessed with it. And I looked at her and I go, Do you know Ralphie yelled at Daddy one time? Because we were on the set.
Yeah.
And it was downtime, and we were taking pictures and tweeting like we were promoting that we were there and doing the thing. And he didn't know who we were, and then some guy came over and like, Billingsley is furious that you're taking pictures. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. But then afterwards, he was cool. Like, we hung out with him. He was nice.
Nice guy. Yeah, he can be a little bit of a stickler at times, and I'm a little more loosey-goosey. So
I was standing on the outside door of the bar, like stuff was going on, and then I come walking in, I went to the payphone or whatever, but I'm standing there, and I look over, and I'm like, I recognize that guy. And it was the guitar player from Velvet Revolver, Dave, who did, I guess, music.
Oh, Kushner,
Yeah. And I was like, what are you doing? And he said he did the music. I go, oh, that's cool.
That guy's got some crazy stories.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. Great dude. Yeah, it was just like, it was crazy because you never knew who like would show up. I remember one day Vince Vaughn, obviously friends with Todd Phillips, and Todd Phillips has a deal on the Warner lot, and came and watched like a few minutes of the show, and I was like, the guy that directed The Hangover, and he's like, yeah, he's done more than that, Steve. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, sorry about that.
Dude, I have to tell you, that just got to be so fun. All right, so you got that. You had the documentary, The Amazing Jonathan.
Yeah.
You got the,
which is interesting because I watched that one, and then there's the other one that's out there that you guys wind up being in, but not really.
Sure. Yeah. I think
Did
last
you know
time
about
I was
this?
here,
I know there was another one. I don't know the deal with it.
Yeah, it was like competing one, whatever, and that guy seems like a real jerk off. Like, you guys were trying to be cool. Oh, yeah, I guess we're both doing documentaries, and he was like all angry. And
I tried to be cool.
Right.
And I didn't, when I was out doing when I was promoting or calling in and promoting the Jonathan doc, I didn't say anything about it because I didn't want to give any credence to the other film.
Right.
Because what ended up happening was there were two competing films right on Jonathan, which is classic Jonathan.
Right. I mean, how does he let that fly?
He's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, he
wants as much promotion as he can get.
Yeah, he's, on his deathbed and thinking the attention's great. He's relevant again. So I'm his friend, though, and then I'm on my way to Boston. And he's like, oh, by the way, there's another film crew doing a documentary on me. I'm like, oh, Jonathan, come on, man. It's just like classic Jonathan. So I reached out to the guy, contacted him. I said, hey, I understand you're doing it, I'm doing it. So let's just talk about this, and narratively, constructively, foundation-wise, we can say what our films are about, right? So I go, why don't I just go first? I tell him mine's about Jonathan and Joel Osborne, this kid that he mentored, and et cetera, et cetera. And it's more about their relationship. That's the heart of the film. So he goes, great, mine's kind of cinema verite. I'm fly on the wall. I'm observing things. Great. So we show up in Boston, and he's filming Jonathan at the air. Like, we took a red eye, right? So we wanted to film Jonathan going on the thing, and I mean, 6 in the morning, there's a camera on my face.
Yeah.
I go, what's going on? It's like, oh, this is Ben. He's the other filmmaker. And it's like, I don't want to be in it,
Right.
It's not why I'm doing it. So basically, we powwow like in the lobby because we're filming 3 shows, and I basically said, hey, look, here's what I'm gonna do, here's what I'm gonna do. I just want one show backstage. That's all I want from him.
Right.
I just need one reaction. He goes, great, can I interview you for my film? I was like, look, man, I don't really want to be interviewed. I'm not doing this. I hate when directors turn the cameras on themselves. I don't like that. So I that's not the reason why I'm doing it. I'm solely doing this because I love their story, and I love Jonathan, I love Joel. He goes, well, don't you feel you owe me? I was like, sorry? He goes, don't you think you owe me? I've been doing this for 2 years before you. Don't you owe me an interview? I'm like, look, man, I don't feel that I owe you anything, so please don't film me. Can you not film me? He goes, oh, yeah, I guess. He's like, no, don't film me. I reached out and we shook hands. He's like, all right, I won't film you.
Got a deal.
The rest of the shoot, I see him, like, turning a camera, turn around, then he turn it away over the other side. And I thought, okay, well, that's that. And then my film premieres in Vancouver at the Just for Laughs Festival. He shows up there. I'm like, what are you doing here, Ben? He's like, oh, I got a friend who's got a film here. And I was like, that's weird because there's only like 3 films here.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I came to support, so I thought I'd come down to see your film. And I was like, well, that's kind of odd, but I took him at his word. And then he talks to me after the premiere for a minute or two, and that was it, right? Next thing I know, flash forward like a year later, I get a call. hey, Ben's film's at Sundance. I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of crazy. He's like, they're like, yeah, you're in it. I was like, what? And then, like, that's when everything kind of changed for me.
Yeah.
And I learned that he was not only filming me while we were doing the shows, he was constructing a false narrative on our participation in the film, making us out to be kind of not the friendliest of folks, which is completely not true at all. We were so accommodating to him during both of our shoots. And on top of that, when he came to Vancouver, he was filming me. He hired somebody to film me in the audience, and he hired somebody to ask me questions to catch me in a trap, but I was always up front. And then he tried to catch me off stage, backstage in a trap, and he didn't get that either. And he was filming it the whole time, and I had no idea. Yeah, so it turned into a whole kind of to-do. And
do you send cease and desist, or what do? You just let it go?
I had the life rights to Jonathan, but they said, well, walk, because this film's not about Jonathan, which I thought was odd because I hadn't seen the film, and the director did make it about himself. He turned the camera on himself and made a film about, his process of making a film that was just...
Who would care about that?
Well, Hulu did. I mean, they bought it. So Hulu bought it at Sundance, and then basically we were out to market as well. And what I learned was once a film that's on market about a subject matter that is the same...
once they have one sold,
the market's kind of dead for me. So like your film is not... it doesn't have the cachet.
Oh, okay, but let me jump in real quick.
Yeah.
There's 2 Firefly documentaries. There's 2 Polka King documentaries.
Sure.
There's, I mean, you and especially if one is done poorly or they're completely different. You know what I mean?
That's what I would have thought.
Not want to watch this guy do his movie, but I would want to see about Amazing Jonathan.
That's completely what I thought. That was my mindset. I thought, okay, we still got a shot here, but everything we kept hearing from our sales agent is he got to market first, you're dead.
Wow.
And so I said, well, that's the value. The value is that it's not whether ours is actually about Jonathan.
Yeah.
It's not that ours is an actual documentary because we're documenting the truth and the reality of the situation. It's that he got to market first because he was a little flashier about things.
Okay. But also, this was your first time doing it too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This sounds like he's scummy Hollywood, like he knew what he was doing.
He took classes at the Sundance Institute and all that stuff, so he had inroads. They reward those people. So he made us seem like we were the Hollywood savvy ones, but he was actually the Hollywood savvy one. So basically, I said, okay, so he's to market first. That's the value in the film. Well, then we'll get to market first. And I called up Bill Burr. I said, hey, can we put it on your YouTube channel? He said, absolutely. I called up all my friends. I did all their podcasts. Kreischer, Segura, all those guys. They were all so good to me. And we got to market first. His was coming out in July. I think we went in June.
Yeah.
And then we just dusted him. We completely made his film irrelevant. Like on IMDb, the industry, they all rate it. I mean, it's only got a few hundred, which they had a ton of press. They did all the Rolling Stone,
but
Variety,
now they're the
Hollywood
second
Reporter.
Amazing Jonathan movie.
Yeah, they became the second
good.
Amazing Jonathan
Good move.
documentary.
Right.
That was good.
You kung fu'd him right in the middle of it.
That's right.
That's good. We should fight that guy.
Believe me.
I'm going to put this out there.
Believe me.
If we're ever hanging out, and me and you and Galvin somewhere, L.A., New York, here, and you're like, remember that Ben guy?
Oh, yeah.
And you go, that's him. Galvin and I are going to beat the hell out of him.
Wail on him.
Just two big mooks.
They did a screening in Pasadena. They were doing movie theaters,
Yeah.
And believe me, I thought about it. And what I had heard him saying, because this guy was talking a lot of smack in interviews and stuff, because I think he was angry because we got to market first.
Sure.
And so he started kind of dumping on me. Then he was dumping on Jonathan. And they were in Pasadena. I was thinking, man, I should just show up. And just spook the hell out of this guy.
Yeah. Just seeing you there.
And he had said in interviews that he was always waiting for me to show up and do what he did. But I was never going to be that way. And he had cameras ready to film.
Oh,
how great would it have been if you just showed up and swapped films? And they played yours. Everyone's like, that's really good. Oh, that's the wrong one.
Yeah.
Would you fight him at the Punch-Out? No.
Believe me, I dreamt of, like, inducing violence on this guy. But, my wife was just like, calm down. That's not how we do things anymore. We're not in our 20s. And we're like, you're right.
That's a good wife. My wife would go, you should kill this guy.
Go kill him, end up on Dateline.
Yeah.
My wife is never like, if we're in a public scene and I raise my voice, she'll be like, stop, come on, you got kids.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're right. But there are times when she's like, did you read that you should go kill this guy?
Well, I think, like, especially in stand-up comedy, like, this guy thought it was a competition. Like, as a stand-up comic, you're always like, I'm golfing here.
Yeah.
I learned early on, you don't get upset at somebody else's success or detriment. We're all stocks. We go up and down. But also, like, I'd been screwed over enough. Like, one of my favorites was there's a club in Marco Island called Off the Hook.
Oh, yeah, Captain Brian.
So are you friends with Captain Brian?
No, go ahead. I know you don't like it.
Yeah.
I cannot. Have I told you this story?
First of all, I must say, I like Captain Brian.
Okay.
I know that you have.
I despise this guy. I mean, I straight up hate this dude. Anybody over the age of 30 that calls himself captain is like.
But he was a captain.
Come on, man.
What about Captain Crunch? He's got to be in his 50s.
Where was he a captain, though? Like a fishing boat captain?
I'm guessing. I don't know.
Okay, like Army, Navy captain? Yeah,
No,
okay,
yeah,
fine.
yeah,
But
yeah.
if you're just like, ooh, I'm a captain, it's like, get that.
Captain Kangaroo did it well into his 70s.
So this yuck books me at his dumpy Red Lobster knockoff, whatever. And then I got a call from my agent. He goes, oh, they want to add a second show Friday. I'm like, great, we're selling tickets. This is awesome. We're not selling tickets, okay? So I get in the car with the guy, Dave Menke. I don't know if you guys know Dave Menke.
Gary.
Gary Menke, yeah. Do you know Gary?
Yeah.
So,
I despise Gary.
okay.
No, I'm kidding.
Well, his house fell into a sinkhole, and
did?
every comic in the world was like, yes. Yes, it did. Absolutely. Part of his house fell into a sinkhole, and it was like, mwah, there is a God. So,
I might I'm dying to hear this.
Yeah.
But I must say that Captain Brian, who I don't do business with.
Yeah.
But it seems like such a nice guy. I'm dying to hear where this is going to go.
okay, so there's a second show. Menke picks me up. They put me, by the way, like, not on Marco Island. I always heard, oh, this gig's great, man. You're going to be on a jet ski. I'm at, like, a microtel next to an Arby's in a cul-de-sac. It was awful. So I'm off to a bad start. Whatever, I don't care. So Menke picks me up. We pull into a church. I go, what's this? He goes, this is the gig. I go, you got me, buddy. He's like, this is the gig. I'm like, this is the gig?
Yeah.
A church? So we go in, and I meet the guy in charge of the show. And I go, what are the parameters here? What's the deal? He goes, he's a super nice guy. I'm in a church. He goes, okay, here's the deal. So we want an hour, clean material. And we're going to give you $500.
Okay.
1 hour, clean, $500. I go, okay. I call my agent up. I go, hey, just what were the parameters that they said to you? They said it was a 30-minute show, PG-13, and you're getting I was supposed to get paid like $500, okay?
Right.
And then I went back to the guy and I go, just to be sure, so you want an hour clean and you're paying $500 to me? He's like, well, we're paying $2,500 to Captain Brian, but you're going to get $500 of that.
Oh.
And that's when I was like, okay, this guy's out to lunch. So I'm furious. I'm like boiling that and this is his church.
Yeah.
So I go up, I do the show, and I'm doing crowd work.
Did you do an hour?
I'm in a church.
You do an hour in a church of clean
I
material.
did an hour inside of a church.
Yeah, because I was going to say, a lot of people don't have an hour of clean material unless you're doing corporate gigs and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not Dave Coulier. I'm doing
it out.
Where are you from? How you doing? What'd you do for a living?
What was your last sin?
All of it. I've been sober for a year. Hey, all of it. So I finished the show, and I go, you know what, guys? I just got to say, this is like one of the most fun shows I've ever done. I grew up Irish Catholic, so church means a lot to me, my family, when I was growing up, and I just want to say, keep the money. Keep the money, give it to the kids, whatever. This one's on me. The whole thing, it's a wash. Don't worry about it. And they all, oh, hey, okay.
Wow.
Get to pocket that money. I do my show. I guess word gets back to Captain Brian. Calls me furious. Absolutely furious.
Oh, they kept his money.
They kept his money. Who do you think you are? You can't make a call like that. You know who you're talking to? I go, who am I talking to?
He's a captain.
A 40-year-old man who calls himself a captain. He goes, I just signed a deal with the Improv. I'm going to be doing all their food. I go, yeah? Do you know who you're talking to? I'm repped by the people that run the Improvs, so I'll call Judy and you know, and Hartman and take care of all this. So I told them about the whole thing. They were upset. Captain Brian never had me back, and basically what I would do is, I remembered it was $2,500.
Right.
So once a month, I would call up whatever the place was, Captain Brian's,
off the hook, yeah.
And I would order $100 to $150 worth of seafood, and it would just sit there. It would just sit there. And so I was doing it. I told Gardell about this, and Gardell was dying laughing. And so Gardell shows up there. I go, Billy, watch this. Hang up the phone, and then I ordered all the food, steak, lobster. Gardell took a picture of like 15 to go things waiting. They never took my credit card. I kept doing it, and I did it until I got to $2,000. Then I was like, all right, I think I'm done.
Oh my God!
So I was pretty happy. I got to
Captain Brian.
Yeah,
I've never seen him like that. That is him. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
what a piece of.
Oh, you should fight him at the punch-out. This is getting even better now.
Destroy him.
Now, Captain Brian that's the captain's log. When he picks up the comedians, they do a video blog from his car.
Oh.
Yeah, you should do that. Settle out your differences in the car.
I see a bunch of feature X on that. I don't see any headliners. What a trip.
Wow.
What an absolute trip.
Yeah. Watch your language.
He is a total clod.
Girlfriend's so hot.
Yeah?
Is he still with her or no? Do we know?
He said he was. When he was
Yeah,
here.
because she had this on her post.
What? Oh.
Or the picture up there.
Oh,
They
okay.
yeah.
They're out together. Interesting.
But-
I love that there's somebody that you don't like.
Oh.
I love that you didn't want to fight. You didn't fight the filmmaker, but you're still mad at Captain Brian all these years.
No, I let it go. I mean, he asked to. He like 2 years ago, he put an offer to my agents. My agents were like, "Yeah, Captain Brian wants to have you back." I go, "You tell him I'd rather quit comedy than go to Captain Brian's." Absolutely not. Never in a million years.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
There's a few places. There's only like a handful of places like where it was that severe. I remember I did this show called "You Laugh, You Lose," like. Oh God, John Viner did it. John Viner wrote on Family Guy,
right?
Like a bunch of young comics. We were just in New York City at the time, so you drive around in this van. And you go to all these colleges, and it was You Laugh, You Lose, right? Person spins the wheel, see what they get, and then me and 3 other comics would go out and try to make them laugh,
yeah.
right? So you do anything you could, and I remember the guy who was in charge of our tour, he was like in his 40s at the time, he just up and left one day. And what I learned was he was a drug addict, and he just left. So I called the place, was like Kramer or something, and they go, yeah, you know what, there's only 4 dates left. Finish it out, bring the van back to Michigan, and we're going to take care of you. I go, okay. So we're like in South Carolina. We're along 95. We do these 4 or 5 other shows. The other comics take off on the airport to go back. I drive this van from like, I think it was like Georgia, and I drive it all the way up to Michigan. And I remember I get to the office. I'm like, okay, I'm the hero. I saved the day. And I'm waiting to talk to the guy. And the secretary's like, yeah, just wait here. So I'm in the lobby for like probably 2 hours, I remember. I was just like, what's going on here? You know? And then she goes, oh, he'll see you in a bit. So another hour goes by. I'm 24 at the time. I'm so wet behind the ears. And basically I go in and I go, okay, well, thanks for having me. I'd love to work with you guys again. He goes, yeah. So the van's here? I go, yeah. He goes, okay, well, here's what I owe you. And he cuts me a check. It was like $200. I was like, what? Yeah. And I was like, do you have my flight? He's like, well, we don't have a flight for you. I'm like, this is it?
Yeah, you're taking care of me.
And so then he abruptly just gets up and walks out. He doesn't want anything to do with me. I asked the secretary, can I use your phone to call my manager at the time? And they go, oh, you can't use the phone, honey. You got to go across the street. There's a payphone there. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I go across the street. I get the payphone. My manager is out to lunch. He's not helping me out. I call my father. I'm like, I don't know what to do. He's like, I'll get you a flight, get home, get to the airport. Your flight leaves in like 4 hours. I go, okay, I don't have a cent. I spent it all getting there. I'm broke. So I go back into the office, and I say to the secretary, I go, Miss, I left something in the car. Can I grab it? She goes, yeah, of course. So I go to the van, I start it up, and I peel out. I steal the van. I drive to the airport, and it's like a movie. I just pulled up right to the front of the American Airlines thing. I threw it in park. I threw the keys in there. They go, you can't park there. I go, I'll be back. They go, it's not going to be here. I go, take it away. And I left. And so I got a call 48 hours later from my manager at the time, and Roger, he calls me. He's like, "Where's the van?" I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Where's the van, Steve? They want to know where the van is." I was like, "Well, you reimburse me for my plane ticket, or you're never going to hear where this van is." And they go, he's like, "Steve, I'm serious. You got to tell me where this van is."
This is a side of you I didn't know existed. I love this.
I was like, "Get me that check, and I'll tell you where the van is." So I got a check wired to me. I got reimbursed for the flight, and then I told them that it's you got to call the city, because I left it out. Yeah,
to get the van back.
And so I heard what the bill was, and they were furious with me. It was definitely a few $1,000s because it was towed
sitting there all that time.
Yeah, and it took
good for you.
Took them like it was over the weekend, and then it was 4 or 5 days. So it was a pretty penny.
That is odd. See, that would make me feel good.
Yeah, I felt good. And I forget the best part. So this guy that owned the company, he was a former magician, and he had a doll of himself, a life-size stuffed doll of himself.
Wow.
And I remember when I asked to use the I forgot something in the car. I was walking past this little office where they had a boardroom, and I saw that puppet. I was like, I'm grabbing that puppet. And I grabbed the puppet, and I threw it in the back seat. Yeah, I was gonna beat it when I was driving, but I forgot, and I remember I threw it in the back seat.
You should have propped it behind the wheel after when you left the
decapitated it.
That is hilarious. I love this evil side of you.
Well, I was just that's why when all that stuff happened with the other film, I was like, all right, there's another way to do this. You've done this before. How can we win? And I remember that they wanted the other film. They were pushing for an Oscar nomination for Best Documentary, which I thought, this is kind of far-fetched. But all you have to do is screen a film once in a movie theater, and you're Oscar eligible.
Oh,
That's
really?
all you have to do. I could rent out a theater, show mine,
and then submit it.
50
Mo's
people
eligible now.
Yeah, we had a guy here who made a movie. Can you show that? Can you show the trailer so Steve can see the trailer? Mo, he does nights, and he's an author. He's very artsy type, and he had an idea. Write what you know. He wrote a zombie movie that takes place in a radio station. So he was able to use this background, all that stuff. And Kevin Smith is a friend of the show. So nice. Kevin, I was not going to have anything to do with it. And then Kevin reversed the tables on me. And he was like, you should do it. This could be his Clerks and blah, blah, blah. So if Steve's watching the trailer now. And they debuted, they had the screening, the wet screening. It's not completely done yet.
Right.
But this is it. And
wait, as a director, have you heard of a wet screening before?
Wet was a weird new term to us.
I have not heard of wet screening.
I think he made it up. So there's the zombies. That's Kevin. That's Gio. He works here.
Yep.
And this is we're watching the trailer for WDED. It's on. I still have not seen the movie. I don't know what it's about, but I'm in it.
We're Spanish.
That's weird.
The zombies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And does it look horrible to you? Because it looks horrible to me. I'm in it, and it looks horrible.
Well, this is an employee, is somebody that works here?
The black dude,
the black guy,
not that guy.
The other one with the dreads. It was just on there.
Yeah, it's his movie, and he's listening now for sure. So crush his dreams.
There's some. There we go.
Yeah, look at my eyebrows. I don't know why they gave me such dark, bushy eyebrows.
They filled it in, huh?
Yeah, I guess. I already thought I had sexy
You're
eyebrows.
so obsessed with your eyebrows.
I look like Mr. French. I don't understand.
You look like an exhausted night shift manager of an Olive Garden.
most of the time. That's what I look like. Yeah. So this was it, and then they had the screening, and I have not seen it yet, but the local newspaper crapped all over it.
Oh, really?
But then Mo said it was just a wet screening. It wasn't completely done yet. So
So what screening? They didn't get the sound or color correction done
Right,
yet? Is that it?
yeah.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
Tighten it up and
Sure, yeah.
replace everybody. And
I bet you even
movie.
I bet you
Like everybody replace dialogue.
rewrite the script.
Redo it,
Yeah.
Redo the whole thing.
just show a different movie.
We
No,
should
there
let
was
Doug
some good-
Benson watch it. And
yeah.
There was some shots in there that looked pretty good, and then there was other shots where the lighting was a little harsh.
Yeah.
But
I think the whole thing was harsh.
the did you see it though?
No.
No.
I'm in it. I didn't go see
Yeah,
it.
we saw it.
Spanish and I saw it.
What'd you think?
It was a fun zombie movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
Now, okay,
I'm in
all
it.
right.
I thought it was.
Now ask Galvin what he thought of it.
And it really needed to be tightened up, and a lot of stuff needed to be cut out.
Was it long? Was it too long?
Not too long, just not too good.
Yeah.
So Kevin Smith is on the show.
Yeah.
He's doing Jay and Silent Bob reboot,
Yeah.
and they're doing it at Tampa Theater here. So I say, and he's the one that talked me into doing this, Kevin Smith. So I say to him, the movie's done now. The trailer is done.
Sure.
Will you show the trailer before the Jay and Silent Bob movie? And he's like, absolutely. He said, if you can deliver it to me in any format that we could play in that theater, we will show the trailer.
That's cool.
What's a trailer? 2 minutes?
If that.
Yeah.
Kevin reviewed that trailer and he said no.
Oh, really?
At that point, they should have scrapped the movie.
Well,
Should have scrapped it.
yeah.
It's all right. Listen,
Yeah.
this movie is the Captain Brian of movies.
Oh, no.
But I don't want to crush somebody. I mean, it's incredible
Crush.
that the guy
Crush your
did it, though.
dreams.
He did
Yo,
do it.
listen to me. He also wrote a book. Okay,
Yeah.
he's a 7-foot black guy with dreadlocks.
Yeah.
And he wrote a book through the eyes of a 12-year-old girl. He's just a weirdo.
Hey,
My
Steve
wife-
Harvey did it.
Steve Harvey did it?
Remember Steve Harvey? You got to think like a man. You got to act like
Oh,
whatever it
yeah,
is.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
he set the path.
Well, whatever. This is Steve Byrne. Steve Byrne is going to be at the Improv Friday and Saturday. Friday 8 and 10:30, Saturday 7:30 and 10:30, and then Sunday at a church in Pinellas Park. Clean comedy.
Yep.
No kidding. 864-4000 is the number for the Tampa Improv. You can make reservations to see him. Are you going to hang out or are you going to leave? Doug Benson's coming in.
Yeah, I
you know
for a little
Doug?
bit. Yeah, I love Doug.
Yeah, that's who doesn't love Doug?
It's
like,
hard
no,
not
you've
to-
never met anybody that was like, "Ugh, Doug Benson."
Never.
No.
Never.
No. Okay. And
He's great.
yeah, he is very much the guy you see in the podcast.
Oh, my
and in
God.
stand-up. He is high and mellow,
Hilarious.
and hilarious. But I do have a question for him. I made an observation for him about him
Yeah.
that I'd like to bring up to him. I'll tell you what it is, and then we'll ask Doug about it.
Okay.
And you may know, and I don't know. I bet Doug has a hot girlfriend, or has had a hot girlfriend that he absolutely doesn't deserve. He is
I think
not-
any comic has.
Yeah.
but he's not a very good-looking guy.
All you have to do is open a fish restaurant. You could end up with it.
So good.
Wow. The first time, now that club has moved, you know that? They're in Naples now,
Yeah.
and I don't know, I hear it's nice, but the first time Bert ever played Captain Brian's, he called me up, typical Bert fashion, whispering on my phone.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Bert. I go, hey, what's up? And he goes, have you been to this place? And I go, no. He goes, it's a goddamn Red Lobster. It's a goddamn Red Lobster with a stage. And blah, blah, blah. I went out there to see Ralphie there one time. See, now, maybe it was you he didn't like, because when I went out there with Ralphie,
Yeah.
he put us both up in a nice hotel on the water across the street.
Yeah.
We did go fishing the next morning on a charter boat. I mean, we had a good time. He just didn't like you, I think.
I don't know. I'd never met the guy.
Yeah.
You know, it was the first time I'd ever been there or whatever. So I don't think I would have done anything to have.
To make him
Made
not
him
like
upset,
you.
but
That's
yeah.
true. You're a very
But I
likable
certainly
guy.
don't like him. I do not like him. There's
He
very
let
few
it,
people.
He let it go. He tried to book you. He let it go.
Yeah.
You screwed him out of the money,
I'm as easygoing as they come.
and you
There's
ruined all his shrimp.
No, because think about how many employees ate that night for free. Because
None. They all got salmonella because it sat there 2 hours waiting for Steve to come get it.
Never asked for a credit card. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm
it's-
gonna keep doing it.
He's trustworthy.
I keep doing it.
You know, the next day they had a new policy. They were like credit cards only. Got to hold the order. Well,
15 or 20 minutes, it'll be ready.
that is so funny. Doug Benson is going to be at the Improv tonight only. Now, why does he get to only do one night?
Because he's Doug.
Yeah. How much do you think he's getting for one night compared to your 4 nights? You know what you should do? You should write it down, and then we should make him write it down and compare.
Sure.
Okay. We'll write down what we think you're getting for the 4 shows.
Oh, I'd love to see what you guys think.
And what we think Doug's getting for the 1 show, and then we'll
I think I could have a pretty good idea of what Doug would be getting for.
Okay. Yeah. I have no idea. I'm going to guess. Mm-hmm. What's the capacity at the Improv? 350. All right. Everybody can play along. I don't know if we're going to necessarily reveal the numbers to you folks at home.
Yeah.
But that's one great thing about Bert. Bert will tell you anything.
Oh, my God, Bert. I remember the first time we were on this Jameson tour.
Yeah.
So Bert Judy Marmel, who's like his manager, she was my manager at the time. She was doing okay, you know, Jeff Dunham and all that stuff. And we're in the car going to the first gig. And Bert just straight up, he's like, so Judy, how much do you make a year? And Judy's like, what do you, Bert? No.
Yeah.
But
He'll just ask.
He'll just ask. Yeah.
We did that one time. We were on the cruise and we were sitting in the room just chilling out, and Bert's like, who do you think makes most out of all of us? And Ralphie was like, come on. And he was like, well, besides Ralphie. And then we're like, write it down and we'll pay. And then it was me, Ralphie, Bert, and Moose, my old producer.
Yeah.
And it was like, we'll just write it down and we'll leave it blind and we'll see. And like, we could tell one said $2 million last year.
Yeah.
One said $120,000. You know what I mean? But now I wouldn't want to play that game with Bert. It would depress me.
Bert's
crushing it.
Bert's killing it.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah.
I love Bert, but he does have the emotional threshold of like a 15-year-old girl.
Yes. In everything. About everything.
I remember, you know, he's naked half the time,
Yes.
right? And the first time my wife met him, we're in Milwaukee. And we finished the show. We're all drinking at the bar, and he walks out. He's got some weird hat and cowboy boots, and he's butt naked. And my wife's like, "Oh, so is this what it's like?" And I'm like, "Yeah, pretty much."
Yeah.
And so the next day we're at lunch. It was me, Gardell, my wife, who's just my girlfriend at the time, and Kreischer. And Gardell goes, "I want to have you all at my house. Let's have some lunch." And Kreischer's like, he's like, "Oh, that's so nice, Billy. That's really great." And then Gardell he goes, "Now listen, you come over to my house. You keep your clothes on. I don't want any of that rinky-dink BS that you're pulling." And he's like, "I got a kid. I got a wife. I don't want you running around naked around my house." And Chris goes, "Well, what would you think I'd do that, Billy?" He's like, "'Cause you're naked. You're naked all the time." He's like, "But I can't believe you would think that."
My wife has very little to do with this show. Like, I'll call her every once in a while.
Yeah.
But she's nothing like. So we were on. Well, we were on a vacation one of the cruises that Bert came on.
Yeah.
And Bert was he's constantly naked. So one time we did a thing in here. I think Robert Kelly was here, and we were drawing what each other's penises look like, what we think their penises look like. Yeah. And then,
Thing to do.
and then we put them up on the internet. And I remember my wife was looking at them, and she goes, "Who drew that?" And I go, "Bobby." And she goes, "That one looks like Bert's." And I looked at her, and she looked at me, and she goes, I go, "Yeah, I know. He's been naked around us so much that you know what his
You
penis
actually
looks
know,
like."
yeah.
Yeah, that's upsetting.
Bobby Kelly, first off, both these guys, heart of gold, like great guys, but
Yes.
Bobby Kelly could have done the meanest thing anybody's ever done to me. I don't know if I ever told you this story.
No,
but,
please do.
So years ago, there was a Boston comedy club across the street from the Comedy Cellar.
Yes, in New York.
A block away. And they would have roasts every now and then for comics that they loved. They would just spontaneously do one. And they were doing one night for Rich Voss. So prior to this, I had done my SNL audition, okay? So basically, every comic, if you're in New York City, everybody did one at one point.
Right.
So 3 characters, 3 impersonations, whatever. I didn't have a camera at the time. This is like late 90s, early 2000s. Nobody's got this stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So Bobby's the most tech-savvy guy I know. I go, "Bobby, can I borrow your camera?" Of course. He lends me the camera. So I keep the tape in. I roll it the whole time, and I just act it out over the course of an hour. And I think, all right, I'll just chop it from that. I chop it from that, edited it up, done. I give Bobby back the camera. I said, hey, here's some extra tapes, and I left the tape in there. You just tape over it. He goes, great. Flash forward.
Right away. I was like,
Flash forward like 6 months later. Bobby, this evil human being.
No.
Bill Burr said it's the meanest thing he's ever seen in stand-up. Okay, that's how. So Bobby, he chopped together the worst parts of my audition. I mean, I'm talking to myself. I'm doing Wayne Newton. Bad. So everybody's doing the roast thing. Everybody's having a good time. And then Bobby pulls out a TV and VCR like it's an 8th grade science film everybody's going to watch. And Ray's like, what's going on? And Bobby's like, yeah, I didn't think I'd do time. I just want to show you guys something. And Bobby thought it was so funny. And he presses play, and he goes, this is Steve Byrne's SNL audition.
and crap right there.
And people are just like, oh, my God, yeah. And then they start realizing, oh, Bobby put this together, and it's the worst. And Colin Quinn, within a minute and a half, goes, Bobby, stop. You got to turn it off. You can't do this to him. You can't do this to him. It had the complete opposite effect. Everybody was like, so it kind of like ruined the roast. And then after that, everybody comes over the Comedy Cellar to hang out and drink upstairs at the bar. I'm hosting. No one's looking at me. No one will talk to me. And I'm like, what's going on? And they go, didn't you hear? And I go, no. They go, did you hear what Bobby did to you? I'm like, what?
Oh, you weren't even there for it.
I wasn't there. And then they told me, and I felt so, oh, God, it was like one of the worst feelings. For like a month, I couldn't shake it off.
Oh, that is wonderful.
Bobby, I did get him back, though. Like a month after that, I lived in
You ordered a bunch of shrimp to his house.
No, that would be rewarding, Bobby. But him and Jim Norton lived in Hell's Kitchen. I lived in Hell's Kitchen, and I remember I used to play roller hockey in Central Park with Rick Moranis and a bunch of other people. It was really fun, kind of random, but it was fun. And my stick broke, so I'm rollerblading back to my apartment. I'm just like, please God, I hope nobody sees me, and thinking I'm just rollerblading. So of course, out of Starbucks, Bobby Kelly and Jim Norton come walking out. And they look at me, and they just, I'm on the sidewalk, and they just look, and they stop, and they start dying laughing. Norton's bent over. Bobby, he's like, yeah. And I keep skating, and I slow up, and I skate up to them, and I skate right between them. And they're all looking at me, and they just smack their coffees out of their hand. And I kept skating. I heard them laugh. It was great.
That's awesome. Steve Byrne is here. He's hanging out with us. Doug Benson, you know Doug from Doug Loves Movies, and you may have smoked weed with him at some point. He'll be in the studio with us next.
You're listening to The Mike Calta Show on 102.5 The Bone.